So, I've just completed another deep dive ayahuasca week here in France, and again it was 3 ceremonies in a row with a kind of rest integration day or 2 at the beginning, and now I'm in my integration days after. And yeah, I'm just left with a mixed kind of impact. I had the most incredible, probably, night of my life the day before last, where I was met in a place that I've never experienced before, and it was just like, yeah, the highlight probably of my existence, as epic as that sounds. Truly was like being touched by the divine in a way that yeah, I think it's going to have a lasting impact. But then last night, the final ceremony was a living hell, and I got to experience probably one of the worst nights of my life. And anybody doing ayahuasca probably knows, either for themselves or somebody else who's kind of experienced that dichotomy, that juxtaposition. And yeah, I'm just in a recovery state right now. I'm feeling very, very grateful and deeply touched and inspired by this plant, this spirit, and how it knows exactly what I need and helps restore my health on an emotional, energetic level, which impacts my physicality too. The changes since the last IAS a week that I did 6 months ago is just huge in terms of how I deliver my gift, money, abundance, health, relationship. I mean, so many shifts and changes. I can't even count what's been shifting. And I'm also being touched just on around a potential growing impulse to include this plant within the deeper kind of journey work that I do with Heart IQ. And I just asking the question, how does it fit in? For those who don't know, I do my journeys one-to-one. So with somebody who has a Western background, a therapeutic understanding, as well as a shamanic gift. And that's really important for me. I didn't want to go to the jungle, for example, and do this in a large group. It's really important that this feels like a form of therapy. So this is trauma work. This is deep emotional release. This is being met on the mat of the temple. So it's not, I take the medicine and I just have my experience while space holders are kind of witnessing. There's an interactivity that takes place, especially in a one-to-one. In fact, I feel very blessed because it wasn't just 1-to-2, it was 2-to-1. There's the actual person delivering the experience, and then I invited a very dear friend and brother who is experienced with Aya and Hard IQ, who I deeply trust, who is also holding and witnessing and also showing up in the most profound ways to meet the parts that I really only need to be met in by men. So within these journeys, I'm doing deep men's work, I'm doing inner child work, I'm connecting to the divine, I'm purging, I'm restoring, I'm receiving, I'm nourishing, I'm confronting and challenging, or I'm being challenged. It's multidimensional and deeply healing, and it's the place I go to get met and to get worked on. And yeah, and it just feels pivotal. and life-changing and life-enhancing and life-giving. So I guess maybe you're wanting to know, like, what did I encounter? What was my experience? Well, last time I did it, where I spent a week here and 3 ceremonies in a row, the first one was hell. The second one I thought would be better, but it turned out to be a deeper version of hell. And then the third one was bliss. That's kind of my memory of it. If you want to go and find that out, you know, I've got other videos about that. Just search for videos back in October, you'll probably find it. This time it was the reverse. The first ceremony was like epic. Second one was heaven. Third one was hell. Let me explain. So the first ceremony, I kind of accessed this really beautiful musical gift. The toning, the drumming, the sounds that would come from me were not just purging, they were musical. They were revealing a longing of mine to get in touch with my musicality, my voice, my instrumentation, and to call that into my life as a gift that wants to be now brought in as a practice, as a way for me to connect more deeply to myself and to God and to tribe too. So that's been on my path for a while, but it really kind of landed. I got to experience myself as being in sync with musicality. Because in Aya, you really drop beyond the mental field into the somatic realm of being totally in the body and in sync with other realms beyond the mental, relational, but really into the soma, into the somatic, into the body, where mind doesn't get in the way, and it's just like pure bliss. Because what also happened in this first night was connecting to this warrior, and it felt like Asian, like maybe Japanese, Korean, this kind of like martial arts, kind of like samurai or something. And I felt this energy coming through my body, and I kind of did a warrior dance, and I was claiming this power, this energy, this pure masculine force that was just cutting with its sword bullshit. And the medicine I take home from this part of me that I access was how in many moments I've played myself a little bit too nice and soft, especially in the work of Hard IQ, which perpetuates a beautiful, important idea around attunement. But in that, I can get a little bit lost in caring for everybody's needs and being a little bit sensitive and overly sensitive and being really aware of people's triggers and wanting to create safe space. And it makes me a bit sick sometimes. It's a bit sweet. And I notice it's not really me. I'm a bit more get over your bullshit type of guy. But over the years, learning to attune to circle, I've had to tend to people's wounds and traumas in such a way where in an amplified field, things are easily triggered. And if I want to get things moving, I tend to manage the traumas and triggers by hiding my sword, because I don't want to cause offense or be a bit abrupt. But it was just so beautiful to contact and reclaim this warrior in me that is just craving to be let out of the cage more in life and especially in my work. So these gifts of this warrior energy combined with musicality and sound, drumming, music, tone, instrumentation, dance, deeply embodied stuff, really earthy, grounded, tribal. It felt like coming home. You know, it's often I talk about aliens and ET and I come from the sky, but in Aya, I tend to just feel natively like I don't have cosmic connections. All my ceremonies remind me of my ancient connection to Earth and to the fact that I'm really tribal. And it's just like, oh, I thought this was my home and my truth, but often I find my home in some of the most raw, primal, core, earthly energies. And so it's just interesting reflection to go, oh, perhaps I've denied my earth nature and just had a fantasy of being out there. And I think it's neither there or here. It's kind of and in both. It's just Aya brings out the more earth spirits in me, I think. So yeah, that was the first night, just beautifully exquisite. And I left like, wow, yes, more of this, please. This feels really, really good. And yeah. And then in the second night, again, I'm cutting so much out because each one of these is multiple hours, taking multiple doses of the medicine, right? So it's like they're long ceremonies and there's a lot that goes on. Too long for a video like this for me to unpack. So I'm just giving a quick highlight reel of what I'm kind of digesting or with in this moment. In the second ceremony, I think the highlight for me was I was able to surrender into complete obliteration and the peaceful death of just, not just the ego, of just completely melting into the arms of the divine feminine kind of energy that is Aya, that just penetrated and permeated every cell of my being. And I was allowed to, well, I was not allowed, I felt the complete envelopment. And I was able to, I think for the first time in my life, every breath felt nourishing. Every yawn was not a yawn of exhaustion, but a yawn of replenishment. This feeling of, I am finally receiving and filling up my sponge, and all the depletion, all that weight that I'd carried just dissipated in the most exquisite multiple hour healing of this, of being in this world or this other dimension of blissful rejuvenation. And I was like, oh my God, this is a gift from the divine. This is everything. I'm complete. Yeah, it was like, wow. I thought I knew what nourishment or nurture felt like, because I have really been blessed with a lot of experiences of nourishment and nurture, especially in the circle work that I facilitate. But this went so deep, deeper than anything from the previous week of Aya. So I noticed that every ceremony went much deeper the second time round, 6 months later. So I'm like, well, okay. So it felt really right to do this again, to take the next layer. And I was like, yeah, this is why I came back, because I kind of met a lot of parts, but I didn't really receive from the medicine like this. There were moments of it for sure, but not an entire evening ceremony devoted where time stopped and it just felt like infinite love was pouring in through my body. And before I thought it couldn't get any better, the cherry on the cake, or the dessert, was that in a moment I was lying on my side and I reached out to my brother, who came around and just held me, and he really contained me, like completely enveloped me, and it felt like home. It was like, oh my God, this is the masculine, divine, fatherly love that my system has been craving for my entire life. It's like I've been searching for this piece that, you know, my father, with all of his best intentions, as all parents do, they do their best to love their children. But like all parents, my father has trauma from his parents and their parents, and that can create a block to the purest version of how they might wish to love. And in this moment of being held, I was just saying yes, yes, oh wow, wow, wow. It was like I was receiving a transmission and an imprint of the very thing that is at the source of craving, emptiness, the thing that I often search for in women and in relationships. It was all found here in this brotherhood healing, in this father wound healing. And I was just repeating to myself, I said, all men need to feel this. Every man needs this. Oh my God, this is like life-changing, literally life-changing. And it brings a smile to my face as I share that. And then as I had my eyes closed and I was enveloped by this indescribable presence and safety and love, my father visited me, the soul, the essence of my dad. And he arrived not as who he is today, but as I saw him as a younger version, as I would have seen him as an infant. So it was his photo almost of him younger with black hair and just a youthful version. And the way he looked at me was like how he could have loved had he not had all his own emotional baggage and trauma. Pure, unadulterated. I got to feel him absolutely, completely cherishing me and loving me. Tears in his eyes. Just silently being there in a way that was like, I can't even describe it. And it was, that to me, that's a gift from the divine. It is divine. It is the essence. And then I saw my grandfather and I realized this healing isn't just happening through him or for myself. It's also happening for him and my grandfather. And it became generational. And I realized, like, yeah, it ends with me. I felt like I needed what I just experienced in order to be a father myself. Like, I just got given the gift that I can now give to my children. And it ends with me. It doesn't have to pass on. This wound kind of evaporated. It's hard to explain, but this is why this second night was like a journey into heaven. And I left it just like feeling so grateful for my father. Like, I've been grateful and appreciative of him for many years. And I felt a lot of like care and, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but the deepest feeling of open-hearted love, no, I wasn't able to touch that for some reason. It was blocked by maybe my own pain or some of my experiences in the past with him. But my heart is blasted open and I have so much love for him now. Like, really, I fell in love with my dad. That was basically what happened. And it created such a sense of solidness in me that goes, my God, if I can feel and stay in touch with this, my relationships are going to change, because the neediness, the need for validation, the need to kind of like get women's attention, it all disappears when this is the source. This becomes the straight, clear, unwavering masculine presence. And I had that developed to some degree, but I could feel that this was just another layer that just took it to a whole nother level. So I'm just curious how this is going to inform my men's work and how this is going to inform my relationships and my relationship. I'm really, really excited for that. And around my own capacity to be a father, I think it's going to be really, really cool. Yeah, so I left that ceremony going, wow, these first two are incredible. Like, just, this is just worth it. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I felt like the first two I had in the last ceremony were like living hell. I couldn't even take a second dose in my second ceremony in the last week. It was too much. And yeah, but now I was like, oh, I've got this. I as my friend. And And yet I had this subtle sense like, the third one's still coming. And the facilitator here shared, often the third one is the easiest. It's like calming and really relaxed. And I was like, oh my God, if these first two were the intense ones and I'm now going to experience the relaxed version, oh, I'm down for the kind of cherry on the cake. But it wasn't that. It was hell and back. Luckily back. There was a moment there where I thought, I'm going to stay here. I got traumatized. I felt PTSD. I felt like, will I ever recover from something like this? I touched core unworthiness collapse, the wound of sheer and utter terror and psychotic screams of disconnect and separation from the divine, from myself, complete emptiness, but not just emptiness in the good way, like nothingness, the bliss of nothingness. I mean, the agony and the anguish of not feeling connected at all, even though you know people are around you. It's just pure embodied separation. And I don't wish that on anybody, yet I looked that part directly in the eye. I also confronted the toxic, manipulative, feminine energy that was hooking me and making me do things I didn't want to do, where I was a puppet on a string. And I had to fight for my no. I had to, Aya, the medicine itself, started to represent this shadowy, toxic feminine. And I fought her the entire night, battling, not letting her violate me and take me into places where I felt there was no consent. I was like, where is my no? Where is my, and can my no be okay? Like everyone's talking about, just say yes to the medicine, surrender, just let it do its thing. And I'm like, fuck no. I'm not being taken anywhere unless I'm a yes under my time. So I kind of like had this need for sovereignty of like, when it's my time. And I was getting the medicine literally of, I find it really difficult to say no to women and to the feminine. Men, it's much easier, but with women, it's ambiguous. It's like, it's so entwined with getting something like love and connection that the fear is that if I say no, I would disconnect from that source. But I'm beginning to learn that by that ceremony where I received that fatherly divine imprint of love, I can begin to bring my warrior through and begin to stand in my no more and deal with the impact of potentially having connection being severed or potentially having love being withheld. That it doesn't actually matter so much anymore because I don't need that as a way of sourcing my life. Like there's a new source channel that's been opened up. So now I'm excited to see like, well, who do I need to say no to more? Where can I bring more no, the juicy power of no? But I noticed in my Aya ceremony, it was super difficult, even during the whole ceremony to say no. And even by the end, I hadn't quite got the hang of it. It was like a muscle that was so unused that I feel like I was given the gift of seeing how important this muscle is. And I was tasked to like, now go to the gym. You know now what you need to do. You need to now practice your no. You don't have it yet. So I wasn't given my no. I was invited to practice. And like, now the work continues. I feel like Aya creates portals of potential that we now need to go ahead in life and practice. Like, just because I tap my musicality doesn't mean I become musical. Now I need to grab an instrument and do the work and actually harness that gift and draw it through. Just because I tap my warrior doesn't automatically mean that I'm just going to access that energy when it needs to. It's like, I need to be daring to bring that sword through. I need to work with men and receive nourishment from men and be in brotherhood if I want to continue to channel that sense of sourcing from the masculine versus the feminine. I need to practice my no. I need to take time to feel my yes. That was the other part of the ceremony at the end of yesterday, was I learned that I did take my second dose because the whole thing that happened was during the ceremony, I took the first dose and then I very quickly realized like, oh, I'm being manipulated. I'm a puppet on the string. I don't want any more. And so during the ceremony, I was continually invited to take my second dose. And I was like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I felt it so hard to say no. And then I went into collapse, like I failed. I didn't do it right. But I realized that what I needed to do was to find my yes. And I needed a lot of time. So hours went by. And then finally, I was like, now I feel my yes. It's not somebody else's. It's not because I need approval, get a gold star. It's like, I've got the timing now. And so I took my second dose right at the end, and it felt like a triumph. And that was the part that felt really good. I kind of claimed my victory. The King Arthur moment of like, yes, I pulled the sword of Excalibur out of the stone and I'm claiming my power. It's like a hero's journey of like starting and then going into a complete fall and collapse, and then finding the courage to kind of like win the battle at the end. So that's why I said it was like going to hell, but then coming back. But it was so close. I was like fighting with everything, and I didn't have the strength to take that second dose. I just thought, I can't, it's too much, I can't. And I was right back like I was in the first ceremony. And then I thought to myself, if I can't do it for me, can I do it for my children? The children that aren't born yet, like my future kids, like my health matters, my spiritual health matters. Like, this is going to support them. And I devoted the courage, or drew courage from the thought that I'm doing it for them. And so then I took that second dose, even though I was terrified of the purging, the letting go, the pain, the nausea, the excruciating going back into potential hell. All of these fears were genuinely there. But I got through it. My process continued all through the night. I hardly slept last night, so today is a rest day. So I'm not feeling like, oh yay, I feel completely cleansed and my whole heart is blasted open and I'm like beautifully integrated. I feel worked. I feel shaky. I'm processing that last ceremony especially a lot, and I'm like, okay, yeah, for a big time there I was not doing okay, but I have done it and I've got through the other side, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful for I'm proud of myself and the courage that it takes to do one-on-one Aya work like this in such a deep setting, and to not be let off the hook, and to be guided to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and to not just do it once, but to do it again. And potentially do it a third time in the future, you know. But this is calling me right now, my path, and this is what I need. This is what keeps me sane. This is what keeps me growing. This is what keeps me on a new edge right now. It meets me. So anyway, and now I go home in a few days' time, and I on purposely did this just before a big series of events that are coming up, because I feel like this is going to help me open and prepare and be my best version of myself professionally for these events. So I'm looking forward to getting back to work and noticing how these days have informed and imprinted and impacted how I lead circle, how I share from stage, how I teach and facilitate. So yeah. So if you've been listening thus far, thank you. I hope this has been useful and enjoyable, and love to hear your thoughts, your medicine, your takeaways, what touched you. Feel free to leave a comment, and